Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about doubled pawns in chess. So double pawns, people usually think they're really bad, they're going to destroy your position, and you're just going to lose immediately once you have a double pawn. Now, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes it is true, because double pawns are sometimes bad, but sometimes, as I'm going to show you today, they're also kind of good in some ways. So I'm going to talk more about double pawns later, so let's get started. So in this first position, you see a double pawn for white. Yeah, he has a double pawn on e3 and e4. So this is sometimes good. In this position, it is good. So this double pawn, this gives white control over many squares, especially d5, d4, f5, and f4 from the two double pawns. And also, if white wants a big center, he could also try to push this d pawn, and he could push it so that way he has a nice big pawn center. And so notice that if you play this d3 to d4, then white has a big center, and black, he has this pawn that's about to get captured. So black takes, then white will take back, and white would have a nice center, a nice pawn center in the on those four squares that you can see right there. C5, D5, E5, and F5. And so now black can't really jump to those squares, otherwise his pieces will be captured. And so this is a nice strategy I'd like to use if I have two double pawns like that on D3 and D4. Just push, on E3 and E4. Just push the D pawn up, and then push it to d4, and then claim the center after that. And so it's really nice to help you gain more space. And notice that now black's pieces are kind of pushed back a bit, and so white could kind of proceed with probably queenside space. That would be pretty nice. And then now in this position, you see two double pawns. You see a pair of double pawns. You see C3 and C4. They are kind of weak in this case. So notice that in the previous example, the double pawns were kind of protecting something, or they actually claim some space. Now in this case, yes, they are claiming space. And the C3 pawn is kind of protecting the D4 pawn, but this C4 pawn is kind of weak. Now, the reason why double pawns are weak, as some of you may have known, but the double pawns are sometimes weak because it's kind of hard to protect both pawns at the same time. Because the pawns are not next to each other, they can't really protect each other. They are sort of in front and behind each other, and so they can't really support each other. They're just more looking at each other's backs or something. And so the double pawns here are also sort of like that, and they can't do much, and they're not protected by much. Notice that if you have a double pawn, it's harder to protect the pawn that's further away from your army. In this case, C4, that C4 pawn is harder to protect because you have to protect it diagonally or with a knight, but you can't protect it head on with like a rook or a queen from the back. And also, there's no B pawn to protect that C4 pawn, and so it's kind of weak. So this C4 pawn is kind of vulnerable to being attacked. So what black can do is kind of attack this pawn. Obviously, if it's vulnerable to attack, just attack it. So this black is trying to get this pawn and with bishop to a6, and then now white, he has to focus some of his energy onto this c4 pawn, which he didn't have to do if he didn't have this double pawn. He could focus his energy on the center because he got a pretty nice center, but because of this c4 pawn, he has the risk of losing this pawn. And then after white plays some moves, black could go from knight b8 to knight c6 to knight a5 and attack that pawn again, and also kind of attack the queenside space while white has to defend that pawn. And it's not that great if you gotta defend. You really want to be attacking in the scenario. And now this triple pawns, they're really annoying. I know these are not double pawns, this is triple pawns, and this is just really bad. Triple pawns are just a different level. They're godly bad. So triple pawns, they have no redeeming value in themselves. Yes, you get some nice open files because that's what you get from triple pawns, because all your pawns move to one file, so then you got nice open files. If you have really active pieces from these triple pawns, then you could say you got some redeeming value. But if you have no active pieces, like in this case white, he got active pieces, but they're not really that active because these three triple pawns actually hinder his activity. These three triple pawns, they kind of block white's line of attack. You see the queen and the bishop on the c file, they would have been attacking the black king if the triple pawns were not there. The triple pawns were kind of blocking white's attack, and they're also a nice target for black as well. Notice that pawn on d5 is really vulnerable, and black could eventually get the pawn on d4, and it's really not that great. So you should try never to get triple pawns. Triple pawns are really hard to get, but if you're really unlucky, you're probably gonna get them. So I guess that will be about it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and learned a lot about double pawns and triple pawns. And if you guys did, leave a like, subscribe, and click that notifications bell to see more chess videos.